403-770-481, not 213 in the chat room there. But thanks anyway. So that's a little bit about the show. And I also, one more thing about the show before I move on. We play a lot of music on this show. Sometimes I'll have shows that are only about, or just musical and just music. I am someone who adores music. I love it. It's a huge part of who I am. I started playing violin when I was 5 years old, piano when I was 8. I played the trombone in middle school. And then I played the guitar since about 20 years old. I don't play any of them as much as I once did, but I can still play them all. And I find music to be the sweetness of life, really. I mean, if without music, can you really imagine what life would be like and how mundane it would be? So that's why I do this show. And you can always check out the show. Actually, the actual archives of the previous shows I've done, mostly on Blog Talk Radio, are all already on iTunes. So if you go to iTunes and you type in Offlimits Show, you'll see the show come up, and you'll see like 200 plus episodes on there. And you can also type in gay, because I have a lot of gay topical shows, and it'll also bring up my show. Usually, I think it's on the second page of iTunes when you search for the podcasts. So I hope you guys will check that out, and you will come back for more. So once again, if you want to call in, the number is 214-377-0481. I'll get you the calls in just a minute, but I wanted to talk about something that happened earlier on here on Spreaker. I was actually listening to some shows. I was trying to check out the shows and see what was, what other people were doing, what their shows were like. And I went to a show on here called 101.9 The Mix. They were playing amazing music, really great music, and the show's really more just music. And kind of a traditional show about, like a typical DJ type show. And they interspersed it with a little bit of talk or whatever. So I was on there, and they were ironically playing What Would You Rather. And the reason I say ironic is because I've had this box on my desk right next to my microphone here, the Would You Rather game. It's a box for about a week, and I was planning to play that on my show. So I was like, wow, somebody had the same idea that I had. So they asked for Would You Rather questions. So I pulled out a card, and I went in, I picked a question. And the question was, would you rather, and the question actually was, would you rather, let me see. Would you rather, the question on the card was, would you rather have to watch with your family and friends a video of every time you've ever cursed or every time you've ever lied? That was the question from the card, but I had a better question in mind. I said in the chat room, would you rather have to watch with your family and friends video of you having sex for a video of every time you've ever had sex, or a video of every time you've ever gone to the bathroom and done number 2? So that raises the stakes of the question a little bit, right? Because I think the idea of would you rather is really more about picking between two things you would never want to do at all, right? And so I raised the stakes on that question, made two things that you would never want to ever have to do, right? So, but if you had to do one of the two, you'd have to pick. So anyway, that was the question I posed in the chat. And the person that runs the show said, no cursing in here. And I said, what did I say that was a curse word? And they said, you said sex. And they didn't even spell sex out. They put S''X. I said, so you consider sex to be a curse word? And they said, yes, we do. And we don't tolerate the word sex in our chat room. And so I said, well, I said, unless you're a pilgrim, you probably don't consider the word sex to be offensive. And I said, you're not somebody I really want to know. And so I left the chat, and that was it. So I think that, for me, I find people to be really uptight about sex. And that's one of the things we talk about on this show a lot. We talk about sex on this show. And the reason, by the way, I called the show Offlimits Show is because the majority of the things we talk about are things that you are not supposed to talk about in polite conversation, things that are considered off limits in the majority of conversations you'll have with people in your life. And so that's why I called the show the Offlimits Show. So I'm going to play a song. Okay, never mind. Because somebody said we were having trouble, but he could hear me, so it was his side. He said, never mind. So anyway, so I wanted to definitely address that on my show tonight, because sex is not something to be ashamed of. Sex is not something to be embarrassed by. And here in the United States, we are so completely, I don't know what the word is, just puritanical, I guess is the obvious word to choose for this, puritanical about sex. And that's what the word you hear used in relation to this kind of argument all the time. And I find, if you go to Europe and they have nude beaches and you have entire families there walking around the beaches nude together, and no one's ashamed of nudity. Mothers or breasts are out, and the dad's, wang is out, penis is hanging out. So, I mean, all of these things are very, typical in certain places in the world. And it's only in the United States where we have a lot of shame about the human body. And I feel like really most of the time, people who are ashamed of their bodies were raised to believe that that sex or the human body is naughty and sinful and carnal, and it's nothing about it is beautiful or aesthetically attractive or whatever. So a lot of people look at the human body and only see sex, and they don't see it aesthetically. And my having gone to art school and having one of my degrees being based in fine arts, a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, one of my degrees. I understand art and I love art, and I feel that there's nothing wrong with the human body. And when I see a human body, of course, I see a hot guy, and of course I'm going to look at him sexually and carnally, of course, yes. But what's wrong with that? What is wrong with looking at someone and wanting them or lusting after them? I don't know why that's such a big deal for people. And so, of course, if you have little kids, little girls around, and you don't want some man's penis hanging out that you don't know or whatever, around them or whatever. And if you have little boys around, you don't necessarily want the same thing. So it seems like the male genitalia seems to be the one that people are mostly opposed to, like as if it's naughty, nasty, disgusting, and wrong. And of course, there is an appropriate age level, I feel personally, that is acceptable for a child to be able to see nudity. But that's because I've been raised here in the United States, as I just said. Go to Europe, it's not like that at all. So is one side more correct than the other? Well, I feel that this is the reason we have so much hatred towards gay people in this country, because a lot of people in this country feel that being gay is wrong, evil, whatever. The obvious main reason being the Bible is utilized against gay people, stating that gays are disgusting and evil and wrong. But I think the basis of all of that, beyond just the religious side of it, is because of the shame behind sex and the feeling behind gay sex or whatever. So if you are someone who is homophobic or hates gays or whatever because you feel that gay sex is not the same as straight sex or not as important, or because you can't have a child as a result of it, you're wrong. And one of the arguments by the Catholic Church that's often used, and this has been this way since the 13th century, against gay people, and against against gay people generally, is that they cannot procreate. So they can't have children or make a baby, basically. So as a result of that, since the 13th century, that has been the policy of the Catholic Church. And that policy has sort of filtered down through the Protestant churches as well, Christian churches, whatever. And of course, many other religions believe this as well, in terms of Muslims and Judaism and other ones as well. So that is why it is as such. But before this tenet was sort of delivered and put onto the to people by the churches, before that, there were actually gay marriages that took place in the Christian church nearly 2,000 years ago. And let me repeat that. There were gay marriages that took place in the Christian church nearly 2,000 years ago. And this is something you never hear about. And because you never hear about it, you may think I'm lying to you, or as if it's completely wrong, or I'm just making it up. But no, this is based on several books, as well as one particular book by a Yale scholar named Annalee Newitz, John Boswell, and who was actually a Yale scholar and a religious Catholic, and wrote about the early Roman Empire, and the early Christian church, and stated that there were dozens of records of church ceremonies where two men were joined in unions that used the same rituals as heterosexual marriages, and that they had the same rights and the same everything. So, and even in inheriting land and blah, blah, blah. So people who often use the argument that that gay marriage somehow redefines marriage today are simply wrong. It is not. First of all, it's been redefined many times, but also the fact is that gay marriage was once accepted by society even thousands of years ago. So I just wanted to make that point about that. So we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some other stuff as well. If you want to call in now, you can. The number, once again, is 214-377-0481. But you can also feel free to use Skype. If you have Skype, it's free to call the show from anywhere in the world. Just dial or put in the name Offlimits Show, add me, and I will add you back, and you can call in and talk to me that way for free. And people can hear you in the chat room as well. So hope to talk to you soon, and I'll be right back after this. Thanks.
I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. That you give me no reason why you make me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling, oh baby.
Yes, that's what great audio.
Give a little respect to you. And if I should falter,
I don't know how you
would
guys
you
can hear
open
me
your
on
arms out to me? We can make love like war, and live in peace with our hearts. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. What religion or reason could drive a man to forsake his lover? Don't you tell me no, don't you tell me no, don't you tell me no, don't
Oh,
you
he
tell
doesn't
me
realize
so.
you can still hear me.
I hear you calling, oh baby.
Sound quality is something really good.
Give a little respect to
Sound quality because you guys are kind of listening to it from the sound quality now. If you're listening to this live and listening to sound quality,
I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever
good.
blue.
It's like
That you give me no reason. You know you make me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling, oh baby.
Okay, we're back. Sorry. Like I said, there's some technical issues going on because I'm still trying to figure out when you can hear me, when you can't. I muted myself, but on the switchboard or the board I'm using, but I forgot to mute myself on Skype. So apparently you could hear me singing. So I'm really sorry for subjecting you to my vocal talents or lack thereof. So anyway, if you want to call into the show, the number is 214-377-0481.